Hello and welcome to New Mobility Live. I am Teal. My guest is world traveler and award-winning blogger Cory Lee. Cory has visited 37 countries, all 7 continents, and was New Mobility's 2018 Person of the Year. If you're not familiar with New Mobility, we're United Spinal Association's member magazine for active wheelchair users. You get a free subscription when you join United Spinal, which is also free. Hi, Cory. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
As someone who is always gearing up for or on a travel adventure, how has this past pandemic year been for you?
I remember back in March, I was planning so many amazing trips, was really looking forward to going to New Zealand and Belgium, Japan, and a few trips to Costa Rica this year. But instead, I've really finally gotten to focus on traveling in the US, which is something I've kind of been putting on the back burner over the past 7 years since starting my blog because I've been so focused on international travel instead of domestic. And now I'm finally really getting an opportunity to explore my own backyard, per se. So, I mean, things within the Southeast, like Shenandoah National Park and the Great Smoky Mountains and the Florida Keys, and just places that I had never taken the time to actually explore in depth.
Though you this past year have been traveling to destinations that are within driving distance, there is, of course, still a risk of COVID. So, what kind of precautions have you been taking?
Mean, anytime that I think get outside your house, there's going to be an inherent risk involved. So I've definitely tried to play it as safe as possible while still traveling and only doing road trips and staying more in cabins and vacation rentals instead of hotels as much. And so also taking my own pillows and bed sheets and spraying the place down with Lysol and disinfectant and all that good stuff upon arriving.
Now that you've had both doses of the Moderna vaccine, how will that change your behavior? Are you ready to hop back on a plane?
The pandemic is still very much active and worse than ever, honestly. So I live in the state of Georgia and it's just running rampant here. And so, I mean, at this point, from living over the past 11 months and pandemic mode, I just can't even imagine going to the airport in Atlanta and getting on a plane and having to be, manhandled and picked up and transferred into the plane seat by people and all of that. So at this point, I'm not ready and I'll just keep doing road trips and things like that. But I have a trip to Costa Rica planned for this April, at the end of April, and
Mhm.
I'm thinking it'll probably end up happening. So I'm planning on it and going to stay hopeful that it'll happen.
I am a big fan of your Instagram account, Curb Free Cory Lee. And I scrolled down to look at some of your very first posts. And one of them from March 6th, 2011, caught my eye. So, what is going on here, Cory?
Well, I'm glad you picked this one because there's no telling what else is even back that far. But I had actually just been to Las Vegas for my 21st birthday. I spent my 21st in Vegas and then came back home after my birthday and had a party at home. And so I had a Las Vegas themed party and birthday cake and all that fun stuff. So tried to bring the spirit of Vegas back home, but what happens in Vegas has to stay in Vegas.
What are your top 3 travel tips for wheelchair users?
First tip would be to plan as far in advance as possible. I think that the more time you really spend planning your trip, then the more fun that you can have once you're actually there. So I usually start with planning is there accessible transportation within the destination? And if there is, then I know that I can take the next step and start trying to find a hotel or book flights and all of that good stuff. Secondly, I would say to really book your hotel by actually calling the hotel. And, we can go online and somewhere that can say that they're wheelchair accessible all day, but then when we actually show up, it can be the total opposite. I would even request photos of the accessible room and videos. And thirdly, I would say to try to use accessible tour companies and accessible tour providers, even websites like Hundiscover.com. They filter for accessible hotels, and you can really take advantage of that. And then booking with accessible tour companies within whatever destination you're going to, they usually know the ins and the outs of accessibility within that destination.
Where are you traveling to next?
So up next, I am going on an RV trip. So I've actually never been in an RV, but I'm going to be working with Winnebago and taking their new accessibility enhanced RV. And it's called Inspire, is the name of the RV. It's by Winnebago. And we're going to be like going along the east coast of Florida, going from like St. Augustine down to near Vero Beach. And so hopefully seeing a lot of beaches and having some fun in the RV, which I think is like perfect right now during the pandemic. Just, to be as safe as possible in our own space. And it's going to be a fun time. So it's something I've been wanting to do for years and just never had the opportunity and never even knew that there were accessible RVs. But apparently there are, and I can't wait.
Cory, thank you so much for being here, and thank you all for watching. Next month, my guest is Tony Award winner Ali Stroker, so I hope you will tune in. Bye, everybody.